do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indie Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indie Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome into the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indie Sports Ticket. Hopefully you're having a nice start to your week. Hopefully you're going to be able to watch Pacers Cavaliers Game 2 tonight. Thanks for tuning into the show, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indie Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on Twitter, __ Jonathan Smith, or maybe you're listening via that Indie Sports Ticket app. And as always, if you want a little bit more from me, you can go check out that My Take Is YouTube page. The NBA playoffs were awesome last night, and hopefully they continue to be awesome tonight as the Indiana Pacers are set to take on the Cleveland Cavaliers Game 2. And there are many, many things to cover in the world of injuries in this series because the Cleveland Cavaliers apparently just can't handle the physicality of the Indiana Pacers. Kenny Atkinson, head coach of Cleveland, was commenting on a list, because it is a list of injuries that Cleveland has. And Coach Atkinson, who, by the way, won Coach of the Year this year, congratulations to him, very deserving. Evan Mobley rolled his ankle in that last game, or at least that was the report. But then Kenny Atkinson came out and said that it was the physicality that hurt Evan Mobley. And that's just the softest thing I've ever heard. And the Pacers cannot afford to lose to a team as soft as the Cleveland Cavaliers. If it's just the physicality of the series that's bothering them, that's just laughable, really. But Evan Mobley is not the only Cleveland Cavalier that is hurt tonight. Spencer Davies, who covers and reports on the Cleveland Cavaliers, he did a long video yesterday discussing the plethora of injuries that have occurred on this Cavaliers roster. Here he is running through all of the injuries and the potential status for all these players tonight.
I can give you some updates on a few guys. So the first one is obviously Evan Mobley, the biggest one in this because of how they need to play 5 out against the Pacers. Well, it doesn't sound like he's moving very well, which isn't a good sign. Doesn't sound like he's going to be able to give it a go for Game 2, just from what I've gathered. I think Donovan Mitchell will be able to give it a go, but again, hearing that he's just not right, dealing with a calf and ankle injury. So he's going to be pushing it and obviously playing some heavy minutes, but what percent are you getting out of Spida in this situation? And then you look at DeAndre Hunter, you said sprained thumb. I think dislocation is what I heard.
Dislocation, yes.
Yeah. So he was obviously injured on the play where Benedict Mathurin had a clean block, but also had a left hand on him as he was going up to get to the rim. And obviously Benedict after that was, standing over him. And that was obviously a playoff type environment. So I wouldn't call for a taunt or anything like that. But Mathurin also got DeAndre Hunter earlier in the game in the ribs in a situation where they did call a foul. So those three are obviously something that you have to keep an eye on. Darius Garland, we heard from Kenny last night talking about what good is it if he's 50 or 60% against this team. I agree with that sentiment because if you're playing the Pacers who are getting up and down the floor, he's going to be running a lot and obviously putting a lot of pressure on that toe. And just from who I've talked to, DG only knows how to play one way. He's shifty. Yeah. I almost equate it to a football injury. You know how many times we see turf toe, right? And there's route running and there's planting and curl routes and all that. Darius Garland kind of plays a similar way. He's very stop go. He's very keep you on your toes, move left, right. A lot of similarities to playing football. So I feel like that's why the toe injury has taken as long as it has. I know he's probably going to try to go through shoot around and go through warm up. I know he went through shoot around today at practice. Tomorrow he's probably going to try to give it a go during that pregame shoot around, but it wouldn't surprise me if DG was out. It wouldn't surprise me if Evan was out. And I thought that DeAndre Hunter would be okay to do it, but it also is a shooting hand that he screwed up his thumb. So there's a very good chance that 3 of those guys might not be able to give it a go. And, you have no Evan Mobley, then you're really changing your strategy. They're going to have to try and slow up this game.
Spencer Davies right there running through a long list of injuries for the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight. Once again, Spencer covers the Cavaliers, and from what I can tell, he does a pretty decent job does a pretty decent job. So let's start with Donovan Mitchell. Spencer made it sound like Donovan Mitchell is going to play tonight, which is unsurprising. The only thing is, it doesn't sound like he's going to be 100%. Okay, he's got some calf, ankle thing. I think it's normal for guys to not be 100% at this point in the season. Everyone's hurt in the playoffs. Tyrese Halliburton's back gets wrapped in one of those heating things every time he goes to the bench. I guarantee you that there are Pacer players with sore ankles and sore backs and sore knees and all that good stuff. But it's part of playing almost 90 basketball games up to this point. So we're at each of these teams. The Cavaliers have played 86 games when you count their series against the Heat. The Pacers have played 87 games when you count their series against the Bucks. When you're playing that many games, you're going to get banged up. It is just very simply part of it. The game is also more physical now than it was a couple years ago. The NBA, as someone who watches a lot of the NBA, has changed how games are officiated. They made the change probably 2 or 3 years ago. The game's physical. These playoffs are incredibly physical. And when that happens, you're going to have bumps and bruises, and you're probably going to tweak your ankle. And if you're DeAndre Hunter, you're going to dislocate your thumb after you get your shot packed at the rim. It's part of it. It is. And it seems like Donovan Mitchell's going to play through that calf/ankle injury. Look, he wasn't very good in game 1. Oh, he had 33. Took him 30 shots to get there. That's not good. It's not, okay? The other 3 players are where it gets interesting. DeAndre Hunter and Evan Mobley have been listed as questionable, and this is big for multiple reasons. First and foremost, the Cavaliers' depth is incredibly important. It's a large part of why they're the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference this season. Both DeAndre Hunter and Evan Mobley are both very important players for the Cleveland Cavaliers for 2 very different reasons. DeAndre Hunter has been an important piece off the bench for the Cavaliers since they traded for him at the deadline. Right? He dislocated his thumb. Maybe don't challenge Benedict Mathurin at the rim if you don't want to dislocate your thumb, okay? On the surface, I think it appears that the Cavaliers are just missing another great shooter, but it's so much more than that. The Cavaliers made that trade right before the trade deadline to give them more lineup flexibility. DeAndre Hunter's the only real wing who can dribble, pass, and shoot and create a little bit on their roster. Dean Wade's the only other guy that's 6'8" that plays legitimate minutes. And look, he's fine. He's whatever. He can shoot it. He's a halfway okay defender. But the Cavaliers need DeAndre Hunter for wing depth. He gives them extra size as well if they want to go super big. If the Cavaliers wanted to, in game 1, they could have run Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, and DeAndre Hunter all out onto the floor at once and just gone super big and not forfeit any shooting or defense due to DeAndre Hunter's ability to shoot the ball and defend. They can also play him at the 4 with Evan Mobley or Jared Allen at center if they want to go small and stay incredibly skilled. He's a very important piece for them. He's a guy who can defend Pascal Siakam. Okay, DeAndre Hunter is important. And look, I think it'd be one thing if he dislocated his thumb on his offhand. He didn't. He dislocated his thumb on his shooting hand. Now look, I've never dislocated my thumb. I've jammed it before. That's not fun. Couldn't imagine having to dislocate it. But, in my 2 minutes of Google research, I am under the impression that this is not going to be very easy to play through. Now, that doesn't mean that DeAndre Hunter won't play. Steph Curry is dealing with a thumb injury himself, and he's got some pretty heavy tape on his right thumb, but it's going to be tough. That's how Spencer Davies made it sound in that clip. And look, if DeAndre Hunter doesn't play, Cavaliers, they'll be fine. They have other options. They can find solutions in his absence. They were the best team in the Eastern Conference before he even got there. It wasn't like he showed up and all of a sudden they started winning a whole bunch of games. No. They won a bunch of games before he got there. And then this piece is what made them a legitimate NBA title contender. So, like, they're going to have answers and solutions without him. The question is, will the Pacers have a counter to it that they really need DeAndre Hunter for? Now, if Evan Mobley is not available, that spells major issues for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Their defense is built around that dude. It was reported that he tweaked his ankle in game 1. I would like to think that he's fine. He played 36 minutes. You know, he got treatment all day yesterday. He's young as well. Young players tend to bounce back a little bit quicker. But Spencer Davies there said that he may not play tonight. I think he'll play. I would be very surprised if he didn't, especially after hearing Kenny Atkinson say that the reason why he got hurt was just from the general physicality of the game. You got to look at that dude, tell him to suck it up and get over it. Seriously. Okay, but that is a big deal if he's not fully healthy. A large reason why Evan Mobley won Defensive Player of the Year is because of his mobility. He has the ability to defend the rim, then recover to the corner to get a good contest on a corner 3. He is incredibly long and athletic, and his mobility is what allows him to be the elite rim protector that he is. And if he's not 100% able to be mobile, then that's an advantage for the Pacers. And I would be surprised. Look, I would be surprised if he missed the game entirely, because this game is important. Like, it is not lost on anyone in Cleveland that if they go down 2-0 coming to Indianapolis, brooms may be coming. Just saying. This game's important. I think we see Evan Mobley because he played 36 minutes. Okay? If he misses this game, though, then this is a game that the Pacers absolutely have to win. You have to win games when the other team's best player or one of the other team's best players are not available. And there's a chance that 2 of the Cavaliers' 3 best players aren't playing behind Donovan Mitchell. I would argue that Evan Mobley is their second most important player. He anchors the defense. You could argue he's not as good of an offensive player as Darius Garland, but like, their defense is built around that guy. And if he's not available or if he's limited, then their defense is going to change. And the only reason why they had a top 10 defense in the NBA this season is because of Evan Mobley. And if he's out, the Pacers have to win. You have to capitalize on the games that your opponents are missing important players in. Pacers did that in game 1 with Darius Garland not playing. And the Pacers can do it again tonight. Speaking of Darius Garland not playing in game 1, we have some conflicting reports. Spencer Davies right there made it sound like, Darius Garland isn't going to play. He's only at like 50 or 60%, and Kenny Atkinson doesn't think that 50 or 60% Darius Garland is really worth much in this series because of the pace that the game is going to be played at. And that report conflicts with what Jared Greenberg had to say during game 1, right after he talked to Darius Garland on the sideline.
Hello, Spiro. Well, as you talked about Darius Garland dealing with a frustrating injury, a sprain of his left big toe, which is keeping him out for a 3rd straight game, an injury that requires rest to heal. The good news, I've been told, is there's no structural damage. However, Garland continues to battle significant swelling and pain. He will remain day-to-day and could play in game 2 on Tuesday. In fact, he just came out into the court. I talked to him briefly, and he feels confident he will be able to play Tuesday. However, if this was the regular season, Garland would likely be shut down for another week to 2 weeks to stay off the toe. GA, this injury described to me as a major burden for a shifty point guard. You would know about that, who needs to push off with confidence.
Jared Greenberg of TNT right there. That audio is from game 1, right after he had talked to Darius Garland. Once again, we've got conflicting reports based on what Jared Greenberg said 2 days ago during game 1 compared to what Spencer Davies had to say yesterday. I'm going to lean towards Spencer here in his report because every player thinks that they're going to come back sooner than what they do, unless their name is Ben Simmons or Bradley Beal. Darius Garland wants to play. Obviously, this is the playoffs. This is what you work all year for. His team's down 0-1 with a chance to potentially go down 0-2. But Kenny Atkinson, once again, coach of the year, his comment on how a 50 or 60% Darius Garland doesn't do them any good is interesting. I'm not saying that he's wrong because I understand why you would think that. Paces up and down. If your toe is hurt and you're constantly running on it, and then that the Pacers are going to put Darius Garland in screen and roll, and they're going to try to isolate him. How does he hold up on that toe? It's a very important thing. With that being said, they didn't have anyone in that first game that could take real pressure off of Donovan Mitchell. Sure, Ty Jerome did it from time to time, but it really felt like a lot of it was just kind of for himself. I know he had 8 assists, but it was weird. It didn't feel like he had 8 assists. And if they had Darius Garland in that first game to take some of that pressure off of Donovan Mitchell to do everything for the offense, especially with that starting unit, that'd have been really nice for Cleveland. And with the threat of going down 2-0, I'm intrigued to see if Coach Atkinson's tone changes on the whole, we don't want 50 or 60% Darius Garland on the floor. We don't think that'll be helpful. That threat of going down 2-0 when both games are, on your home floor changes things. So I'm intrigued to see if anything switches up after that. Darius Garland makes this team, he makes that Cavaliers team so much better. He's their point guard. He's an all-star. He has the ability to create not only for himself, but also for others. He takes a lot of pressure off of Donovan Mitchell. He allows Ty Jerome to do what he does best. 30 minutes of Ty Jerome for Cleveland is too much. It's very similar to TJ McConnell here in Indianapolis. If TJ McConnell is your starting point guard, he's going to play well, just like how Ty Jerome in 30 minutes played well last night. But they're both really at their most useful when they're playing 14 minutes, and in those 14 minutes, they score, 12 points, and they dish out 3 assists. And during that, those, 12 or 14 minutes or whatever it ends up being, they just completely swing the game in their team's they swing the game in their team's direction. That is when Ty Jerome is at his best. Same thing with TJ McConnell. And for the Cavaliers, when Darius Garland doesn't play, then Ty Jerome doesn't get to do that. Also, Darius Garland can go get 30 on any given night. He's a 40% three-point shooter this season. That dude is elite on the offensive end of the floor. And it's very hard to win games in the NBA without 2 creators. The Pacers have more than 2, but the 2 that headline everything are Tyrese Halliburton, obviously, and Pascal Siakam. Pascal Siakam does an excellent job of creating offense. The Knicks last night, Jalen Brunson, and last night for them, it was OG Anunoby, who was awesome. But, Karl Anthony Towns is usually that second guy who helps them create offense because he passes the ball well out of double teams, and we all know about the shooting prowess and his ability to get on the block and score. The Nuggets, Jokic and Murray. The Celtics have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Every team left has 2 creators. Now, obviously, some are better than others. For the Cavaliers, they were missing their second best creator in game 1. They need him. They do. So I'll be very intrigued to see if he finds a way to come back and play tonight, even if it's just for 15 minutes. And what I find really interesting and why I think a lot of these guys are going to play, the line is still 9. The Pacers are 9-point underdogs, and there's all these injuries piling up for Cleveland. Meanwhile, Indiana doesn't have any. At least none that have been reported. Okay, so I'm still cautious of this Cleveland team. Even if Evan Mobley and DeAndre Hunter miss this game, the Cavaliers are going to have a great chance to win the game. Okay, they are. Because that's if Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland both play. If Mobley, Hunter, and Garland are all out, then that is going to be a tall order. But we have to remember that Cleveland is incredibly deep, and we have to give them a chance, even if they're shorthanded. Do you remember game 80? Pacers trying to lock up that 4th seed, and the Cavaliers, they had the 1 seed locked up. No Darius Garland, no Donovan Mitchell, no Evan Mobley. It was just Ty Jerome, Jared Allen, and the power of friendship. And they gave the Pacers all they could handle. We have to remember the depth of this Cleveland team is very good. We have to remember that this team can shoot the lights out. Like if Cleveland shows up tonight and they just shoot 48% from three, good luck, Pacers. Seriously. So this is not just like a free win tonight. If these dudes don't play, the Pacers still have to show up and play well. The Cavaliers were a 1 seed for a reason. So even if Cleveland is missing a whole bunch of dudes, Pacers better show up and they better play well, especially the other guys. This series is not about Halliburton. It's not about Donovan Mitchell. It's about everybody else. I'm going to tell you why when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
It may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
Uh-oh.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Hopefully you're having a nice start to your week. Hopefully you're going to be able to watch Pacers Cavaliers Game 2 tonight. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, Twitter, __ Jonathan Smith. Maybe you're listening via that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. And as always, if you want a little bit more from me, you go check out the My Take Is YouTube page. Now, Pacers Cavaliers Game 2 tonight. Just went over all the injuries for Cleveland because the Pacers are incredibly healthy, and organizations win championships. Yes, players, very important, obviously, but you need a good medical staff to keep your team healthy throughout the season. Pacers clearly have that. Outside of the Halliburton hamstring stuff that's kind of flared up from time to time, Pacers, for the most part, stay very healthy. And that is a testament to the medical staff with the Indiana Pacers. Now, this series, Cavaliers, Pacers, it's about the non-stars. Because Donovan Mitchell or Tyrese Halliburton or Darius Garland or Pascal Siakam or Evan Mobley, any one of those guys can be the best player on the floor in any given night in this series. Both teams have gotten to this point, the second round of the playoffs, a chance to go to the Eastern Conference Finals on the line. They've gotten here because of the success that they've had, because of their depth and the talent of their role players. In Game 1, the Pacers role players were simply better than the Cavaliers were. Pacers players not named Pascal Siakam or Tyrese Halliburton made 15 threes. Cavalier players not named Donovan Mitchell or Evan Mobley made 6 threes. Of course, the Pacers won that game. The Pacers role players are also much better defensively than the Cavaliers. Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nembhard, you could argue, are the second and third best defenders in this series, obviously behind Evan Mobley. Max Strus, Sam Merrill, Ty Jerome, Dean Wade, and Isaac Okoro weren't as impactful on the defensive end of the floor as the Pacers role players were. And that's not to say that those guys aren't good defenders. Isaac Okoro is a good defender. Ty Jerome is a good defender. DeAndre Hunter is a good defender. They just didn't defend as well as Nembhard and Nesmith and McConnell in that first game. And that honestly is an area where the Pacers should have an advantage in every game that they play. Because these Pacers role players, they're big, they're long, and they can really guard. The only guy who's small is TJ McConnell, and that dude can get in the stance and defend not anybody, but a lot of people. So that is an area where I expect for the Pacers to be better than the Cavaliers every single night. The question is going to be shooting. The Cavaliers had an uncharacteristically awful, not bad, awful shooting night in Game 1. And I think part of that was the Pacers and what they did. And another part of it was the Cavaliers just not making shots. The Cavaliers, like I said, just didn't shoot it very well. Max Strus was 2 of 8 from 3. That's not normal for him. Dean Wade played 16 minutes, and he only attempted 1 3 in those 16 minutes. That's abnormal. That is not by design of the Cleveland Cavaliers, because Dean Wade can really shoot. He can really shoot it. Ty Jerome, another guy who can really shoot the basketball, 1 of 4 from 3. And of course, Donovan Mitchell had the worst shooting performance of his career, 1 of 11 from downtown. That's not great. And then you compare that to the Pacers and how their role players shot the basketball. Andrew Nembhard, 5 of 6 from 3. Aaron Nesmith, 4 of 6 from 3. Benedict Mathurin, 3 of 5 from 3. And I think it's going to be hard for the Cavaliers to shoot the ball that poorly again because, the 82-game sample size of the regular season tells you that this is an excellent three-point shooting team, the best three-point shooting team in the league. And then you look at the Pacers, and the 82-game sample size tell you that these guys aren't going to shoot that ball aren't going to shoot the ball that well again. Aaron Nesmith might, because he was I believe he shot 42 or 43% from three during the season, but Andrew Nembhard only shot 29% from three during the year. Benedict Mathurin was in the low 30% area of his three-point percentage. So I don't expect for the Pacers, for their role players, to simply outshoot the Cavaliers role players like they did in game one, even though that's going to be a very important part of the series. What I do expect is for the Pacers to do what they did in game one, what they did an excellent job of in game one. And that's not allow for the Cavalier role players to get up a whole bunch of threes. The fact that Dean Wade only attempted 1 3 in 16 minutes, that is a testament to the Pacers defense and how good of a job they did at staying attached to shooters and running them off the three-point line. Seriously, like the only guy who really got him up was Max Strus, and even his shots, full sprint to the right, coming off of a screen, fading to the right, and trying to make a shot. Like that is, look, Max Strus is a pro. He's a very good shooter. Not an easy shot though. That's much tougher than just a normal. Oh, Donovan Mitchell got into the lane and he kicked it back out to me, and I was just able to step into it and shoot it. That full sprint to the right, falling away shot is much, much tougher than that. So I do expect for Cleveland to shoot the ball better tonight. I do expect for the Pacers to not shoot 52% from three. But then again, obviously, shot quality for the Pacers was better. We're going to have Tony East on at 11:40. And Tony had a tweet last night that I really liked. And he talked about how shooting variance, it's kind of getting annoying, even though that is the answer sometimes. But sometimes teams shoot better from three because their shots are better. And that's what I thought we had in game one. I thought that the Pacers' shots from three were better than the Cavaliers. And that's something that's going to have to continue to happen for the Pacers to win this series. And a lot of that comes back to role players. Because like I said, Tyrese Halliburton was the best player on the floor in game one. It could be Pascal Siakam tonight. It could be Donovan Mitchell. If Darius Garland plays, it could be him. If Evan Mobley plays, it could be him. I think we're going to have a pretty decent rotation of who the best player in this series is night in and night out. And because of that, you have to have role players that are awesome when your stars are as evenly matched as they are in this series. So Aaron Nesmith is going to have to continue to make threes and be an awesome defender. Andrew Nembhard is going to have to continue to be great off the bounce and pushing the pace when the Cavaliers don't allow Tyrese Halliburton to bring the ball up the floor. Miles Turner is going to, have to not be 1 of 3 from three. Then again, if the Cavaliers continue to put Evan Mobley, the defensive player of the year, on Miles Turner, first and foremost, what a tremendous amount of respect the Cavaliers are showing Miles Turner by putting the defensive player of the year on him. Just saying. That's a joke. They're doing that for other reasons. Anyway, sorry. The Pacers role players are going to have to continue to make threes, and they're going to have to continue to defend the three-point line at a high level. This series could very simply come down to, between the Pacers and Cavaliers, whose role players make more shots. Could very simply just come down to that. That is a very real possibility. Okay, now we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully the Pacers shoot it well again tonight, because if they shoot 52% from three again, I feel pretty great about them. They're still 9-point underdogs, which is just baffling to me, given what transpired in game one with, the great shots that the Pacers generated. Also, there's the threats of Evan Mobley and Darius Garland and DeAndre Hunter, all three not playing. Seriously, I mean, it's incredible that the Pacers are 9-point underdogs with all that being said. And I get it. It's on the road, and, you expect for the higher seeded team to, play better at home and all that kind of stuff. And look, if it was me, I know how I am. I'm trying to get onto my FanDuel account right now, and I'm probably going to bet the Pacers because they are not 9 points worse than a banged-up Cleveland Cavalier team, even if all those guys play. Like, they're not going to be at 100%. And when that's the case, like, yeah, like I'm probably going to bet them. So Pacers, Cavaliers, game 2 tonight. Can't wait to see it. The role players are going to continue to be very, very important. And the games last night, I do want to talk about those a little bit. The Knicks, crazy comeback. Not really 20 points in the NBA isn't 20 points in the old NBA. I'll get into that a little bit. What the Nuggets did was crazy. And I've noticed a shift in this year's NBA playoffs that is a deviation from the rule that we've had in previous NBA playoffs. I'm going to talk about that as well when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome back to The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy's Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe watch it on Twitter, _ Jonathan Smith. You can watch and follow me there. Maybe you're listening via that Indy Sports Ticket app, but you can download wherever you find your apps. Also, if you want more from me, my take is on YouTube. Go and check that out. Anyway, now, games last night were amazing. The NBA playoffs just continue to deliver every single night. Every night, the playoffs of the NBA this year have just been nothing short of outstanding. And we had it again last night. The Knicks erase a 20-point deficit to win game one in overtime. Aaron Gordon hits a game winner at the buzzer to beat the Thunder in game one after Chet Holmgren choked and missed 2 free throws. Jeez, just what a night. Let's start with the Knicks just really quickly. How about OG Anunoby getting it done? 29 points. They needed every bit of it, too. He was 6 of 11 from 3. The Knicks only made 2 more threes than Boston, but the thing is, the Knicks were 17 of 37 from 3, and the Celtics were 15 of 60 from 3. And I hope that you watched last night because, you know, everyone says that every team in the NBA plays the same, and that's just simply not true. You're just wrong if you think that. Like, if you watch the Boston Celtics play against the Knicks last night, and you watched game one of Pacers and Cavaliers, and you still think that every NBA team plays the same, then I can't help you. There's no way for me to help you if that's really what you think. Because those 2 games, Knicks, Celtics game 1, Pacers, Cavs game 1, couldn't be any more different. Shoot, if you just watched Knicks, Celtics, and then you watched game 1 of Thunder and Nuggets right after, those 2 games don't look anything alike. They just don't. And the Knicks were awesome last night. OG Anunoby played 46 minutes, 6 of 11 from 3, finished with 29 points. He was their second option because Karl Anthony Towns got into foul trouble, as Karl Anthony Towns does. He was good when he was on the floor. He was really good when he was on the floor. 14 points, 13 boards, plus 8. Mitchell Robinson did a good job of spelling him in the minutes that he was on the bench. He only had 3 points and 7 boards, but he was plus 13. You know, the Celtics just shot a bunch of threes, and they missed them, and a lot of them were good looks. But sometimes you just have nights where you don't make shots. Derek White took 16 threes. Jeez, 5 of 16. Jason Tatum took 15 threes, which really bothers me. Because that dude can get to the line whenever he wants. He can get to the rim whenever he wants. And he just opted to take 15 threes, which is, and I get it, math, all that good stuff. But man, like, you know what's really nice to have sometimes? The ball just go in the bucket. And, the Celtics, they got 3 happy, as they do. And, it led to them losing. That's the way it goes. I still like the Celtics to win that series. Honestly, if they won 4 in a row, that wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Thunder, Nuggets, that game, amazing. Just amazing. Jamal Murray struggled, which I thought that he would. 21 points, 6 assists, but he was only 6 of 16 from the field, 2 of 7 from 3. He did get to the foul line 8 times, though, made 7 of those 8 free throws, which is big for him. And I said it yesterday, he's going to struggle in this series just because the Thunder just have so many good on-ball defenders. They just do. Lou Dort, tough defender. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a good defender. Jalen Williams, good defender. Alex Caruso, great defender. Isaiah Joe, good defender. Aaron Wiggins, good defender. Cason Wallace, good defender. I mean, like, they just have so many dudes to put on Jamal Murray that he's going to struggle like he did last night. Still found a way to put up 21, though. Obviously, the Nuggets needed every last bit of those points. And if he's going to struggle, then someone else has to be better. Russell Westbrook had 18 off the bench. They're going to need that. They're going to absolutely need that, especially if Michael Porter Jr. is only going to score 2 points. Anyway, Aaron Gordon, 22 points and 14 boards. He was awesome. He hit the game winner, which we'll touch on here in a second. But Nikola Jokic, oh my gosh, 42 points, 22 rebounds, and 6 assists. And he was asked after the game last night about his scoring, and he was just very honest, and he said something that's very true. He has to score in order for the Nuggets to be good because they just don't have enough scoring around him, especially with the struggles that Jamal Murray is going to have in these series. And he was very aggressive. He took 29 shots, which is not normal for him. He made 15 of them. You know, he's going to have a much easier time in this series with Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein defending him than he did against the Clippers. But he was awesome. But the interim head coach, whose name, Adelman, I like the way he coaches. He's like, you know what? I'm going to have Jokic, Aaron Gordon, and Jamal Murray on the floor to close every game. The other 2 spots, it's up to you. And last night, Michael Porter Jr. was bad. Didn't rebound, didn't defend, didn't make shots. Russell Westbrook rebounded, defended, and he made shots. In fact, he's the one who set up that game winner because he went up, got a rebound, and just went. And he made the right pass. He finds Aaron Gordon, who's open, kicks it out to him, catch and shoot, stepping into it. Money. Nuggets take a 1-0 series lead over the Thunder. And that series is going to be a lot of fun. Last thing, if you don't think that Nikola Jokic is the MVP, then you're crazy. Even though Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was amazing, 33 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, a block. Yeah, he wasn't as good as Nikola Jokic was last night. Simple as that. Also, Chet Holmgren, make some free throws, man. Let's go. Let's make our free throws, okay? Anyway, I've noticed this shift in the NBA this year, and I talked about it a little bit yesterday with Jared Dubin, and I'll talk about it a little bit with Tony East, who's coming up at 11:40. He'll be on here in a little less than an hour. And I just don't think that having the best player in a series matters as much as it used to. At least not this year, right? That could change going forward. But you have to have really good role players. And this is something that I've been keeping my eye on throughout these playoffs. And the story of the Cavaliers and the Pacers series is going to be defined by, how DeAndre Hunter shoots the ball and how Max Strus shoots it and Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nembhard. What are their contributions? And maybe, I'm just watching too much Pacers, but I think we're headed in this direction of who your superstar is going to matter less and less. Look, you still have to have a superstar when you look at, the 8 teams remaining. They all have a dude, okay? They all have someone who is absolutely awesome. Jalen Brunson's a top 10 player. Jason Tatum's a fringe top 5 player. Jokic, best player in the world. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, top 5 player. Tyrese Halliburton, top 12 player. Donovan Mitchell, top 10 player. Steph Curry, top 10 player. And Anthony Edwards, top 10 player. You have to have someone like that on your team to get to this point. But once you reach this point, the construction of the team around them becomes significantly more important. Because the difference between the best player in the world and the 12th best player in the world is smaller than it's ever been. Giannis was the best player in that series against the Pacers. They lost in 5. You could argue that Luka and LeBron were arguably the 2 best players in that series. They lost in 5. Steph Curry, best player in that series against Houston. It went 7 games because Houston's role players were significantly better than the Warriors. Also, Steph Curry, best player in this series against Minnesota. They're huge underdogs. Nikola Jokic was the best player in that series against the Clippers. The Clippers probably had the second and third best players in that series. But that series went 7 because the role players around Kawhi Leonard and James Harden were better than the role players around Jokic. He's the best player in that Thunder series. I know they won last night. They're still major underdogs. Donovan Mitchell is the best player in this series against the Pacers. He is not what's going to decide that series. Neither is Tyrese Halliburton. It's going to be Nembhard and Neesmith and DeAndre Hunter and Max Strus and all those dudes. Like that. That is what separates every team from each other now. The Timberwolves, they're favored over the Warriors because of the supporting cast around Anthony Edwards. Because Julius Randle is not as good as Jimmy Butler, and Julius Randle's probably their second best player. The reason why they're favored is because they're the role players. The depth of the roster is better. The Pacers supporting cast was better than Cleveland's in game 1. That's why they won. When you look at the two best teams in the NBA, it's the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Boston Celtics. Okay, they have the two best collection of role players in the NBA. Okay, like that's why they're the two best teams. It obviously helps that they both have, top level players and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jason Tatum. But without those role players, they're just another good team. Like the Celtics, they're going to blow up their roster after this offseason because their roster is incredibly expensive, and these new CBA rules make it really, really tough to, pay all these dudes. They're going to be significantly worse next year, even though they're still going to have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Okay? And I think that this trend speaks to the amount of depth in the NBA. The league has never been deeper, and it's made for a more fun and, more evenly matched NBA playoffs this year. Like the fact that, the gap between Jalen Brunson, who's, probably like the 7th best player in the world, and Cade Cunningham, who's probably like somewhere between 11th and 13th. Like, because that gap is so much slimmer than what it was, we got an awesome Pistons and Knicks series in round 1. And part of that, too, is because the Pistons role players were better than the Knicks. Now, obviously, the Knicks top-end talent ended out winning, but still, it's making for an amazing NBA playoffs. Okay? You got to have good role players, and the Pacers are in an excellent place because of that. Between Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Neesmith, and I feel weird even calling those guys role players because of how good they are. And Miles Turner, and, we can just keep it rolling if we want to. Ben Shepherd, who barely plays. Okay, that dude's good. All right, and TJ McConnell, who's a role player. That dude's awesome. You have to have excellent role players if you want to win in the playoffs now. And the Pacers do. Hopefully this is something that continues to happen. Those second-round draft picks are becoming more and more important because, like lottery picks, you hope that you can land a guy who can be the first, second, or third best player on your team. That's what you hope for. That's not usually what happens, but that's the hope, right? At a minimum, you want a guy who's going to be a really good role player. Every pick after that, you just want a dude who can contribute. And I think teams like the Pacers, who are able to find talent and guys who have roles and who can contribute, if you can find a guy like that in the second round, then you're going to set yourself up to have a lot of success, because that is a cheap role player, and you need them now if you're going to win in the NBA. It's going to look more and more like the NFL, where in the NFL, if you want to win the Super Bowl, you better have a couple rookies who can help you win. And I think we're going to see a similar thing with the NBA. You better have a couple second-round picks in their rookie second or third year who can show up and really help you in the playoffs. And the Pacers, they have that with Andrew Nembhard. It's really cool. Hopefully the Pacers can win tonight. There are a lot of injuries in this series. I mean, just a ton of them. A ton of injuries. Tony East, he's going to join the show coming up at 11:40, and we're going to talk about those injuries. We're going to talk about game 1. We're going to talk about what the rest of this series is going to look like. We'll get into the most important things in the series, all that good stuff. Once again, that is at 11:40. He's in Cleveland, so he's working and doing all that good stuff. So can't wait to have him on coming up here in about 40 minutes. But when we come back at 11 o'clock, Pacers, Cavaliers, game 2, injuries, what you need to know, how this is going to have an impact on the game and on the series. All that coming your way when we come back at 11.
Huge news. Right now at Wendy's, you can get a Son of Baconator for just $3. I don't think you understand this situation. The Son of Baconator is only $3 for a limited time. You know, smoked bacon, rich melted cheese. That Son of Baconator is only $3. Thank you to whoever wished upon that star. For bacon that just won't quit, gotta be Wendy's.
U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska and Hawaii, not valid on a combo or on third-party delivery platforms.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was going to unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Decisions determine results. So which path do I want to take? Help people in need or stand on the sidelines watching? Worry about how to pay for school or have my education paid for? Push myself and learn new skills. Stay the same. My decision is to serve part-time with the Army National Guard, and my results will be life-changing. What will you decide? Go to nationalguard.com to learn more about part-time service.
Sponsored by the Indiana Army National Guard.
Let's do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Hopefully you've had a nice week. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you head over there and subscribe, you can also watch the show there, hop in the chat, be part of the conversation. Maybe you're watching on Twitter, _ Jonathan Smith. If you want to follow me there, maybe you're listening via that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. And as always, if you want a little bit more from me, you can go check out the My Take Is YouTube page as well. Pacers, Cavaliers, Game 2 tonight in Cleveland. Pacers with an opportunity to take a big 2-0 series lead, stealing both games on the road before coming back here Friday night for Game 3. The Cavaliers can't handle the physicality of the series. They were complaining about it, which is just, it's the playoffs, man. This is going to be physical. That's how the playoffs are. The playoffs are significantly more physical than the regular season. So, you better be ready to go. And this is, and you would think that after having played the Orlando Magic in the first round last year, that they would understand. That team is as physical as anyone. Then you would think that they would have understood how physical these games are going to be. Okay? So I still can't believe that they were complaining about the physicality. Apparently, that's why Evan Mobley got hurt. He just couldn't handle the physicality of Game 1. And he hurt his ankle. Wham, wham, wham. Okay? I mean, it's incredible. Just everything that has been laid out. Apparently, there's real concern about his availability tonight, as laid out here by Spencer Davies, who does an excellent job covering the Cleveland Cavaliers. Here he is talking about the Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and DeAndre Hunter injuries.
I can give you some updates on a few guys. So the first one is obviously Evan Mobley, the biggest one in this because of how they need to play 5 out against the Pacers. Well, it doesn't sound like he's moving very well, which isn't a good sign. Doesn't sound like he's going to be able to give it a go for Game 2, just from what I've gathered. I think Donovan Mitchell will be able to give it a go, but again, hearing that he's just not right, dealing with a calf and ankle injury. So he's going to be pushing it and obviously playing some heavy minutes, but what percent are you getting out of Spida in this situation? And then you look at DeAndre Hunter, you said sprained thumb. I think dislocation is what I heard.
Dislocation, yes.
Yeah. So he was obviously injured on the play where Benedict Mathurin had a clean block, but also had a left hand on him as he was going up to get to the rim. And obviously Benedict after that was, standing over him. And that was obviously a playoff type environment. So I wouldn't call for a taunt or anything like that. But Mathurin also got DeAndre Hunter earlier in the game in the ribs in a situation where they did call a foul. So those three are obviously something that you have to keep an eye on. Darius Garland, we heard from Kenny last night talking about what good is it if he's 50 or 60% against this team. I agree with that sentiment because if you're playing the Pacers who are getting up and down the floor, he's going to be running a lot and obviously putting a lot of pressure on that toe. And just from who I've talked to, DG only knows how to play one way. He's shifty. Yeah. I almost equate it to a football injury. You know how many times we see turf toe, right? And there's route running and there's planting and curl routes and all that. Darius Garland kind of plays a similar way. He's very stop-go. He's very keep you on your toes, move left, right. A lot of similarities to playing football. So I feel like that's why the toe injury has taken as long as it has. I know he's probably going to try to go through shoot around and go through a warm up. I know he went through shoot around today at practice. Tomorrow he's probably going to try to give it a go during that pregame shoot around, but it wouldn't surprise me if DG was out. It wouldn't surprise me if Evan was out. And I thought that DeAndre Hunter would be okay to do it, but it also is a shooting hand that he screwed up his thumb. So there's a very good chance that 3 of those guys might not be able to give it a go. And, you have no Evan Mobley, then you're really changing your strategy. They're going to have to try and slow up this game.
Spencer Davies right there talking about the game tonight and the injuries with the Cleveland Cavaliers that they sustained after game 1. A lot of injuries to kind of run through. Here we go. Donovan Mitchell. Let's start there. Spencer made it sound like Donovan Mitchell is going to play tonight. The only thing is he's not going to be 100%. And to me, that's normal. That's not newsworthy. Oh, Donovan Mitchell, he's got a sore calf and his ankle kind of hurts. And the Cavaliers have only played 86 basketball games this year. 86 physical, intense, hard-fought basketball games. It's hard and taxing to win 64 games in a season. It's why you'll see these older, proven teams be cool with being like the 4 seed. Because it's hard and physically taxing on your body to win that many games. Okay, so everyone's hurt. Okay, this whole injury stuff, it's just going to be annoying because everyone is hurt. The Pacers have had not 1 but 2 big men this year tear their Achilles. Tyrese Halliburton has his back wrapped every time he goes to the bench. I guarantee you that there are other Pacer players with sore ankles and sore backs and sore knees. And it's part of playing almost 90 basketball games up to this point. The Pacers are going to play in their 89th basketball game of the year this year when you count the playoffs. And the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to play in their 88th. That's a lot of basketball games. There's a lot of mileage and minutes on your body, especially if you're Donovan Mitchell, who's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. Also, the game is physical. The NBA changed how games are officiated about 2 years ago. The game is simply more physical now. Guys are going to get hurt. It's part of it. All right? So it's get over it, Cleveland Cavalier fans, and quit complaining about it. Jeez Louise. The other 3 injuries are where it gets interesting for the Cavaliers. DeAndre Hunter and Evan Mobley are both listed as questionable for game 2. There is some serious concern, reportedly, over whether or not they're going to play or not. So this is obviously a big deal because the Cavaliers are all about their depth, and DeAndre Hunter is a large part of that. And obviously their defense is anchored by Evan Mobley, the defensive player of the year this year. Okay, and a large part of why they earned that number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference is because of that depth that DeAndre Hunter helps provide and because of the defense that Evan Mobley anchors. So these are 2 very important players for Cleveland. Let's start with DeAndre Hunter. The Cavaliers traded for him. He has been a very important piece off the bench for them this year. Okay, he dislocated his thumb. Don't challenge Benedict Mathurin at the rim if you don't want to get your stuff stuffed. Jeez. That's actually kind of tough to say. Anyway, and on the surface, it looks like Cleveland's just missing another shooter, but it is so much more than that. The Cavaliers made that trade before the deadline to give them more lineup flexibility. He's the only real wing that they have on their roster. If you want to call Dean Wade a wing, then that's fine. I would call him a guy who can shoot the ball well and kind of play defense, but he's not going to put the ball on the deck and create the same way that DeAndre Hunter can. The Cavaliers need him for wing depth. He and Dean Wade are the only guys that are 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", that play consistent minutes in the playoffs. Okay, and once again, that's important, but the line of flexibility, that's really what's important. He allows them to supersize their lineup. If Cleveland wanted to, they could go DeAndre Hunter at the 3, Jared Allen at the 4, Evan Mobley at the 5. Right? And then they go 6, that's 6'8", 6'9", 7'1". The Pacers don't have the size to really compete with that. And because of DeAndre Hunter's ability to shoot the basketball, they don't lose any shooting. And they probably become better defensively with DeAndre Hunter on the floor as opposed to Max Strus. They can also go small with DeAndre Hunter. They can play him at the 4, have him guard Pascal Siakam because they're basically the same size. And then they could put Evan Mobley or Jared Allen at center if they want to go small. And guess what? They stay incredibly skilled because of DeAndre Hunter's ability to dribble, pass, and shoot. And defensively, they remain pretty solid because DeAndre Hunter is a very good defender. He is a very important piece for them because in the playoffs, yes, it's important to have stars. It's important to have good role players, but you need depth and you need lineup flexibility. You need to be able to mix and match to counter whatever the opposition is doing, especially a team like the Pacers who played 11 dudes in game 1. It's nice to have extra cards in your deck to be able to play. And losing a guy like DeAndre Hunter, who allows them to do a lot of different things, is a big blow for them. It is. And he dislocated his thumb on his shooting hand. That's very important. Now, we're seeing Steph Curry play in the playoffs with a lot of rap on his shooting thumb. Doesn't seem very easy, though. Definitely can't be comfortable. I've never dislocated my thumb. I've hurt my thumb. Not fun. I hope I never dislocate my thumb. I don't know. I'm flying around dunking on people on Saturday, so maybe, my thumb will get caught in the net or something. Doubt that'll happen, but it could. It could. Through my 2 minutes of Google research last night, I am under the impression that he's not going to play tonight. I Googled, dislocated thumb recovery time, and it was like 8 weeks. I was like, oh, and like a lot of photos of casts and stuff. Not pretty. So we'll see if he plays or not. I don't think he's going to. If he does, I don't think he's going to be as impactful. Then again, like they're down 0-1. If they're up 1-0 in the series, then I think they'd be a little more inclined to sit DeAndre Hunter and Evan Mobley and all that kind of stuff because, I'm assuming Cleveland's pretty confident that they can come into Indiana and grab a win. But with the threat of going down 2-0 in the series, like that's much, much tougher to deal with. So ultimately, if DeAndre Hunter doesn't play, it's going to be a blow. But it's something that the Cavaliers can adjust from. Okay, and they can find solutions in his absence. They were a great team before he got there. That is not the case, though, with Evan Mobley. He has to play for the Cavaliers to be worthy of that number 1 seed. If he doesn't play, that is a major problem because their defense is built around Evan Mobley. That guy is at the middle. Okay, and he tweaked his ankle in game 1, and just complaining about the physicality is just annoying to me. He did play 36 minutes though. I'm assuming he's fine. I expect him to play. He's a younger dude. Played 36 minutes in game 1. Okay, younger players tend to bounce back a little bit quicker. Like if this was LeBron, sure, probably not playing tonight because he's 40. But Evan Mobley's like 23, 22, something like that. Okay, like I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to play tonight. I know that Spencer Davies in that clip said that he may not play tonight. I think he'll play. He just won't be fully healthy. But, that's obviously a big deal as well. Like a large part of why he won Defensive Player of the Year is because of the mobility that he has. His ability to defend the rim, then recover out to the corner to get a good contest on a corner 3. Okay, like that mobility is what makes him Evan Mobley. It's what made him the Defensive Player of the Year. And if he's not 100% mobile, then that is an advantage for the Pacers. I would be surprised if he missed this game entirely because it's very important. But he's also very important. And the Cavaliers have to win this game. Like behind Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley's their second most important player. He anchors that defense. Also, he had 20 points in game 1. Pacers didn't have much of an answer for him. And if he's not available or limited, then their defense changed drastically. If he's out, then the Pacers have to win because you have to capitalize on the games that your opponents are missing important players in. Pacers did that in game 1 when Darius Garland didn't play. And the Pacers are going to have an opportunity to capitalize on that again tonight. There's a chance that Darius Garland doesn't play tonight either. That's what Spencer Davies said there in that clip, although Darius Garland felt like he was going to play in game 2, according to this sideline report from Jared Greenberg during game 1 a couple days ago.
Hello, Spiro. Well, as as you talked about Darius Garland dealing with a frustrating injury, a sprain of his left big toe, which is keeping him out for a third straight game. An injury that requires rest to heal. The good news, I've been told, is there's no structural damage. However, Garland continues to battle significant swelling and pain. He will remain day-to-day and could play in Game 2 on Tuesday. In fact, he just came out into the court. I talked to him briefly, and he feels confident he will be able to play Tuesday. However, if this was the regular season, Garland would likely be shut down for another week to 2 weeks to stay off of the toe. GA, this injury described to me as a major burden for a shifty point guard. You would know about that, who needs to push off with confidence.
Jared Greenberg, sideline reporter for TNT right there, talking about his conversation with Darius Garland during Game 1, talking about when he was hoping to return. We've got some conflicting reports here. Now, I'm going to side with Spencer Davies because every player thinks that they're going to come back and play sooner than they do, because a lot of these guys want to play, unless your name's like Ben Simmons or Bradley Beal, somebody like that. Darius Garland, though, is not those guys. He wants to play. I did find Kenny Atkinson's comments on how a 50 or 60% Darius Garland doesn't do them any good, given the style that the Pacers play up and down. We're running, you're pushing off on that toe all the time. Now, I'm not saying he's wrong, but I do think that anyone that could have taken a little bit more of the pressure off of Donovan Mitchell in Game 1 would have been nice for Cleveland. Okay, now, if they go down 2-0, I think he's going to change his tune pretty quickly, and we'll see Darius Garland in Game 3, even if he is just at like 60%. Darius Garland makes that team significantly better. Like he's their point guard. Okay, he's an all-star. He has the ability to create not only for himself but also for others. He takes a lot of that pressure off Donovan Mitchell. He allows Ty Jerome to do what he does best. Like 30 minutes of Ty Jerome is too much. He's at his best when the Cavaliers, have him coming off the bench for 6 minutes, and he gets the opportunity to swing the game in the direction of Cleveland. Like, that's what we see TJ McConnell do all the time. Let's go back to Game 5, where he closes the third quarter and opens the fourth, and he scores like 8 points in 6 minutes or something like that. Like, that is what Ty Jerome does for them. And when he's playing 30 minutes, like, he doesn't get to come in and swing the game like that. Simple as that. So they need Darius Garland for multiple reasons. He can give you 30 on any given night, which is always nice to have. He gives them another shooter, 40% from three on the season. And also, really tough to win in the NBA without two creators. Every team left has two. Pacers have Halliburton and Siakam. The Knicks have Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. The Nuggets have Jokic and Murray. The Celtics have Brunson and Tatum. The Celtics have Jaylen Brown and Tatum. The Timberwolves, they have Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle. The Warriors have Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry. Like, every team left has two. Obviously, some are better than others. And when you look at Cleveland, they were missing their second best creator in Game 1. Like, you have to have that if you're going to beat the Indiana Pacers in this series. And even if Evan Mobley and DeAndre Hunter don't play in this game, if Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell both play, they're going to have a chance because they're just going to make that offense so much better. Obviously, they can both score themselves, but they also make everyone else around them better. And that is, like, they're enough to give the Cavaliers a chance, even if they're shorthanded. The Pacers are still 9-point underdogs, despite all of these injuries that have come out. I went ahead and took them because 9 points is insane to me. I think the Pacers cover that. I'm not convinced that they win. But, 9 is crazy. Beating the Cavaliers twice in a row, though, is especially tough, especially if they're both in Cleveland. I get it. They're potentially going to be missing a bunch of guys. If that's the case, I love the Pacers tonight. 9 points feels disrespectful. That being said, this is a Cavaliers team that gave the Pacers trouble with, everyone not being available. Like, let's just go back to good old game 80 when, the Cavaliers are not running Donovan Mitchell or Evan Mobley or Darius Garland out there. And it's, Ty Jerome, Jared Allen, and the power of friendship. Like, the Cavaliers, pretty tough in that game. Pacers won, but barely. So even if some of the more important players for the Cavaliers don't play tonight, it's still going to be a really tough game for the Pacers because the other guys for the Cavaliers are good, and they're also good for the Pacers, and that is going to be the theme of this series. I'll tell you why when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the dogs out? Spruce!
It's Spruce, the new hard-working, worry-free weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people and pets. When used as directed, spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Weeds die by the next day. Find Spruce wherever weed killers.
If it's in today's sports world, it's here. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in. Whether that's YouTube, Indie Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe watch it on Twitter, _ Jonathan Smith. Maybe listen via that Indie Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. And as always, if you want a little bit more from me, you can go subscribe to the My Take Is YouTube page. Now, guys, I know Pacers are happening tonight, but I have to bring this up. There's a new video. 31 minutes ago, the Indianapolis Colts posted a new video. And it's of Anthony Richardson throwing a beautiful 3-yard out route to Josh Downs. Guys, I've never seen anything more amazing than this. I mean, the feet are working, moving, hopping around, boom, 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 boom. Ball's out. Just like right on the money. Because, you want for your quarterback when throwing the ball literally 4 yards down the field. You got to go watch this video. I'm sorry, I'm laughing too much here. Josh Downs runs this out route. And usually when the ball is, being thrown 4 yards down the field, usually NFL quarterbacks can hit the dude in their chest. Like center mass, right where your heart is. Usually that's how it goes. Anthony Richardson couldn't do that. It's a little high. I get it. It's outside, which you technically want. But come on. I mean, that's so funny. I just don't post any more videos unless it's, like an absolutely perfect throw. And the comments on this are what make it so much better. And then some guy is actually right and said that throw looks horrible. And I completely agree. Crypto and Beer says, I see a more compact throwing motion. Yep. I'm going to listen to Crypto and Beer tell me about how quarterbacks should throw the football. Colts Enjoyer says that AR to JD1 connection going to hit like crazy. Got to complete the passes though. And then there's just a bunch of stuff about, oh man, about how, they just got to keep working and it's just brutal. I just hope the NBA playoffs go on for forever. Because it is significantly more fun to talk about the Pacers than it's going to be talking about this Colts team. Because the Colts are not going to be very good. And this is a Colts town. We love our Colts. This is our team. We bleed blue. And I don't want to talk about them. Sorry. Anyway, Tony East, who's coming on the show here in about 10 minutes. He is at Cav Shoot Around this morning. Doesn't see Darius Garland. Doesn't see Evan Mobley. Though other players not injured are also not here. So there's a bunch of guys that just haven't shown up yet. Tony's going to join us here in like 12 minutes. And hopefully, he's going to have a nice little update for us on who's going to play and who's not going to play. Also very excited just to talk to him about the series in general and who's not. Because it's going to be good. I love talking to Tony. He always does a really good job. But the role players in this series are what's going to be really important. Because I think on any given night, Donovan Mitchell or Tyrese Halliburton or Darius Garland or Pascal Siakam or Evan Mobley can be the best player on the floor. I mean, seriously, like that is where we're at with this series. Donovan Mitchell, probably the best player of the series, but he wasn't the best player on the floor in game one. And both teams have gotten to this point and they've had the success that they've had because of the depth that they have on their rosters, because of the talent of their role players. In game one, the Pacers role players made more shots than the Cavaliers did. Pacers not named, Pascal Siakam or Tyrese Halliburton made 15 threes. Cavalier players not named Donovan Mitchell or Evan Mobley only made 6 threes. And then you pair that with the fact that the Pacers role players are simply better defenders than Cleveland's are, and they were more impactful defensively in that game. Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nembhard were excellent on defense. TJ McConnell was impactful on that end of the floor. Miles Turner, I thought, did a halfway decent job at the rim. And then you compare that to Sam Merrill, who was fine, Max Strus, who was, couldn't keep Halliburton in front of him without fouling him, Ty Jerome, a normally very good defender. Like, you didn't notice that he was on the floor. Dean Wade, come on now. Isaac Okoro, who didn't play a ton, he's their best perimeter defender, but he can't score, so they can't really put him on the floor. And so, like that is an area where the Pacers should have the advantage in every game. Like, their role players defensively are better than Cleveland, so the question is going to be shooting. And the Cavaliers, the best three-point shooting team in the league, had an uncharacteristically bad shooting night. Max Strus was 2 of 8 from 3. Dean Wade only took 1 3 in 16 minutes. That's a testament to the Pacers' defense. Ty Jerome was only 1 of 4 from 3. And then, of course, the worst shooting performance of all went to Donovan Mitchell, who was 1 of 11 from 3. And that speaks to how good this Pacers defense is and how committed they were to making sure that, that the Cavaliers didn't get off a ton of great looks from 3. And then on the other side, you have the Pacers who shot the lights out, right? Andrew Nembhard, 5 of 6 from 3. Aaron Nesmith, 4 of 6 from 3. Benedict Mathurin was 3 of 5 from 3. And I don't expect them to shoot the ball that well again. Andrew Nembhard only shot 29% from 3 during the regular season. Aaron Nesmith, excellent three-point shooter. If he was 4 of 6 again from 3 tonight, then I wouldn't be surprised. But if Benedict Mathurin shot 3 of 5 from 3 again, that would be surprising because he's, a low 30% three-point shooter on the season. I think he's at like 32%. That's not very good. Okay, so I don't expect them to shoot the ball that well again. I don't expect for Cleveland to shoot that poorly again, although I do expect for those Pacers role players to continue to be impactful on the defensive end of the floor. Now, that being said, I do expect for the Pacers to continue to shoot the ball well, just not 52% from 3 well, because of Tyrese Halliburton and this Pacers offense. They did a great job of creating good open looks. I thought that they got better looks than the Cavaliers did in game 1. And if that continues, then the Pacers are going to have a great chance to win tonight and to win the series, period. And I think that this Pacers and Cavaliers series speaks to this new shift that we're seeing in this year's playoffs. It's no longer about the stars. And this is something that I've been kind of keeping my eye on throughout the playoffs. I'm still not 100% sure that this is true because, the Nuggets could win the whole thing. And then I have to come back and be like, yeah, I don't think that this is the case yet. But I do think we're headed in this direction of having the best player in a series is mattering less and less. You obviously still have to have a superstar. When you look at the 8 teams remaining, they all have one of the 12 best players in the world on their team. But the difference between the best player in the world and the 12th best player in the world is smaller than it's ever been. Giannis was the best player in that series against the Pacers. They lost in 5. Luke and LeBron were arguably the 2 best players going into that series. They lost in 5. Steph Curry was the best player going into that series against the Rockets. Jimmy Butler was the 2nd best player going into that series against the Rockets. But that series went 7 games because the Rockets role players were significantly better than the Warriors. Steph Curry, best player in that series against Minnesota. Guess what? They are major underdogs. Nikola Jokic was the best player in that series in Nuggets versus Clippers, but it went 7 games because the Clippers role players were significantly better than the Nuggets. He's the best player in their series against the Thunder. They're major underdogs because the role players for the Oklahoma City Thunder are better than Denver's. Donovan Mitchell's the best player in this series against the Pacers. But he's not what's going to decide this series. Neither is Tyrese Halliburton. It's going to be the role players. That is what is separating teams from each other now. We're seeing it in Vegas, how they're making the odds, and we're also seeing it at the top of the NBA. The Oklahoma City Thunder and the Boston Celtics have the 2 best collections of role players in the NBA. That's why they're the 2 best teams. Now, look, it obviously helps that the Thunder have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's probably going to win the MVP. It obviously helps that the Boston Celtics have Jason Tatum, who's one of the 5 best players in the world. Without those role players, though, they're just another good team. And I think we're going to see this come to fruition next season when the Celtics trade away a lot of these pieces that they have this offseason because they just, they don't have the money to keep this team intact. Okay. And I think that this trend of the, increasing importance of role players speaks to the amount of depth in the NBA. The league has never been deeper. and it's made for a more fun and more evenly matched NBA playoffs this year. It's been a lot of fun. The games last night were fun. Pacers tonight is going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait. And we'll see. Tony East just texted me. I'm hoping that he's still able to come on. If not, then that's okay. We'll just keep it rolling. We can keep breaking down that 30-second video of our guy, Anthony Richardson, throwing a beautiful 3-yard pass. Hopefully when we come back here in about 4 minutes, we'll have Tony East. If not, we'll keep it rolling. We will continue to have a lot of fun right here on The Real Jonathan Smith Show.
may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
Uh-oh.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. We moved Tony East to tomorrow. He is still at the Cleveland Cavaliers shoot-around. Yeah, which is cool. He's got a job. I got a job. I'm going to keep rolling through my job. He's going to do his job. It's going to be great. We're all just going to do our jobs. It's going to be awesome. Thanks for tuning in. Whether you're watching on YouTube, Indy's Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe watch it on Twitter, __ Jonathan Smith. And, of course, you can also listen, you can also listen via that Indy Sports Ticket app. You can also get the Dan Dockett Show from noon to 3 on that app as well. And as always, if you want even more from me, you can subscribe to the My Take Is YouTube page. Yeah. Let's go. All right. Pacers, Cavaliers tonight. Give me the Pacers +9 because 9 points given all of the potential injuries for the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's just like, that's just way too many points. If DeAndre Hunter and, Evan Mobley and Darius Garland, all three don't play, then there's no way that the Pacers are not going to cover that 9-point spread. No way. Actually, let me back up. The only way that the Cavaliers cover that 9-point spread is if they just have an outstanding shooting night. And we have one of those weird nights where the Cavaliers make 48% of their threes and the Pacers only make 30%. That's the only way that happens. So we'll see how it goes. I'm very excited for the game tonight. I hope that they're as good as the NBA was last night. Because the NBA, these playoffs, man, they are just doing nothing but delivering. Delivering all the time. Last night was, you could argue, the best night of the NBA playoffs. I feel like we say this all the time. You had this amazing Knicks comeback where they erase a 20-point deficit, and they win game 1 against the Boston Celtics in overtime, 108-105. And then you've got Aaron Gordon hitting a game winner for the Nuggets to beat the Thunder in game 1. Every road team has won game 1 so far. Pacers won game 1. Nuggets win at Oklahoma City. And, of course, the Knicks win at Boston. So maybe that continues tonight with Warriors and Timberwolves. We'll see. Probably not. By the way, I have an official prediction on that. Give me the Timberwolves in 6. Let's go with that. Anyway, Knicks last night. OG Anunoby, how about him, man? How about him? 29 points, 6 of 11 from 3, 10 of 20 from the field. He was probably arguably their best offensive player. Just the catch and shoot stuff last night was really good. Put the ball on the deck a few times, got to the rim, had the big dunk late as well. He played awesome for New York. Jalen Brunson was Jalen Brunson. He also had 29. He only had 5 assists, though, which I think that when you play the Knicks, it's like playing any other great player. If Jalen Brunson only scores, then you feel pretty good about him. If, Jalen Brunson, scores and he dishes the ball out, then, you are worried about your ability to win. So I think that the Celtics are probably pleased with how they defended the Knicks. I mean, they only gave up 108 points and they played, 52 minutes or 53 minutes, excuse me. The issue was the Celtics only shot 25% from 3. They were 15 of 60. They only took 37 shots that were not threes. And I get it. I do, kind of. You've got a really good three-point shooting team. Like Jason Tatum's a good three-point shooter. Kristaps Porzingis, good three-point shooter. Drew Holiday can shoot it. Hey, Derek White, really good three-point shooter. Jaylen Brown, he can shoot it. Sam Hauser, he can shoot it. Al Horford. You just go through the list. Every guy that plays minutes for them, with the exception of Luke Cornett, can really shoot the basketball. And the issue is they couldn't shoot it well last night. And it is one of my pet peeves of watching Boston. Jason Tatum's 6'10". Jaylen Brown's like 6'8", 6'9". And they match up Hunt all the time. They do. They match up Hunt pretty consistently. And like there were just so many times last night where Jason Tatum would get Jalen Brunson on him, and he would settle for a three. And it was really frustrating because, Jason Tatum missed a few threes in a row, and then he comes back and he gets the switch that he wants, and he just bullies his way to the foul line, and he makes an elbow jumper. It's like, oh, you could probably do that every time if you wanted. And I get it. Threes are worth more than twos, and Nate Oates has talked about this. The goal isn't to get a three on every possession. The goal is just to take a lot of threes because over the course of the game, threes are worth more than two. And the math tells you that, threes worth more than two. And so you want to take and make more threes. But at the same time, as great as a three-pointer is, because three-point shots are awesome. It's really nice sometimes? Just seeing the ball go through the hoop. Whether it's for 3 points, 2 points, or 1 point at the foul line. Doesn't matter. It's just nice seeing the basketball go through the hoop sometimes. And the Celtics had too many of these stretches where the ball just never went through the hoop because they settled for so many threes. And you can't do that. You simply can't do that whenever, you're settling for all these threes. So it's frustrating. I can't with Boston because they should probably sweep the Knicks. But because they play games like this, they're not going to. But if they won the next 4 in a row, I wouldn't be surprised either. Nuggets beat the Thunder last night in what was an absolute classic of a game. Aaron Gordon hitting, his second game winner of these playoffs. It's crazy. This year alone, Aaron Gordon has more NBA playoff moments than James Harden does in his entire career. Anyway, he was good for them last night, and he's going to have to be for the Nuggets to have any sort of chance to beat the Thunder. Seriously, because the Thunder have so many great perimeter defenders to throw at Jamal Murray. They did. Jamal Murray was 6 of 16 from the floor last night. It's not very good. He was 2 of 7 from 3. He did get to the foul line 8 times, which is impressive. He was 7 of 8 from the foul line. He did have 6 assists as well. He was plus 12 on the night, which is impressive. And he did have 21 points. It just wasn't a very efficient scoring game from him. And that's obviously problematic, right? So he's going to have to be better. If not, then other guys are going to have to step up and be really good. For example, Russell Westbrook had 18 points off the bench last night. It's pretty good. It's pretty solid. It is. Michael Porter Jr., though, he's going to have to be better. 0 of 3 from 3, 1 of 8 from the field. That's not very good. It's not good. And I really like what this Nuggets interim head coach has done. I think when you're the interim, I just think that you have a little bit more freedom because it's like they're probably not going to retain you anyway unless you're awesome. And so it gives you freedom to be a little more independent. So if you watch the Nuggets, Jokic, Murray, and Aaron Gordon close every night. And then the question is, what are the other 3 guys who are the other 2 going to be? And he just kind of goes off of who's playing well. Last night it was Christian Brown and Russell Westbrook. They were both playing really well, so they closed. But there are going to be other games where Michael Porter Jr. is playing well, and they're going to close with him over Westbrook because of how well he shoots the ball. And just to be able to sit back and read your team it's a really nice thing to have because I think there are a lot of coaches in the NBA who are just like, you know what? These are my 5. I don't really care how good or bad they're playing. We're going with them. So I appreciate the willingness to change night in and night out based off of who's playing. It's really, really impressive. They handed the Oklahoma City Thunder their 7th loss at home on the year. And it's, as great as Aaron Gordon was, as good as Russell Westbrook was off the bench and all that good stuff. Jokic, man. Jokic. That dude just dominated that game. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's probably going to win the MVP. And the Oklahoma City Thunder are probably going to win the series. But Nikola Jokic is the best player on the planet. Just go back and watch that game. Just go back and watch everything that dude did. 42 points. 22 rebounds. 22 rebounds. Is like, that's just, geez. 22 rebounds is absurd. 6 assists, especially when you consider that the Thunder are running Chet Holmgren, a 7-footer, and Isaiah Hartenstein, another 7-footer, out there on the floor at the same time. Nikola Jokic still grabbed 22 rebounds in spite of that. He took 29 shots, which is not normal for Jokic. He wants to sit back. He wants to pass the basketball. He wants to facilitate the offense. That's what he wants to do. But with this team, given the lack of scoring options, he can't do that. And he was uber aggressive last night because of it. He took 29 shots. He also took 13 free throws. The dude was just hyper aggressive. And I love that version of Jokic because that dude can very simply, he can score, man. He and Tyrese Halliburton remind me of each other so much. He just does. Because both players can score, but they don't want to. They want to get everyone else involved, and sometimes they need a little push to get them to score. And that's what Halliburton needed in game 1. They gave him a little push like, hey, man, you're going to have to score in this series. He's like, all right. And he went and he got 22. Easy. An easy 22. Still had, 13 assists as well, which is very important. But he needs a little push to go score. And Jokic is the exact same way. And they told him before the series, he talked about this after the game. They told him, they're like, hey, man, we're only winning the series if you can go score. And so he's like, okay, I'll go get 40. And he did. It's pretty incredible. Game 2 tonight between the Pacers and the Cavaliers. Pacers are 9-point underdogs, which is just insane. I mean, that's just bonkers to me because, I think that that's just insane to me. I'm sorry, I can't. 9 points is bizarre because the Cavaliers, even with everyone healthy, they're not 9 points better than a healthy Pacers team, and the Cavaliers are not healthy. Evan Mobley, limited, wasn't a shoot around today. DeAndre Hunter, not a shoot around today. Okay, Darius Garland was a shoot around. He ended up showing a little bit later. This is from Tony East, saying that Darius Garland ran on a treadmill in the back. That's about all he did. No other significant updates. And so I can't believe that the line is what it is tonight. Seriously, 9 points is absurd. And you should be all over that. This is one of those bets where it's like, you know what, if it doesn't hit, then I'm not going to be upset. Because I know for a fact that this is the play that makes the absolute most sense. Because we saw it in game 1. Like the Cavaliers, without Darius Garland, they're just not as good as they were. No way around. That's the very simple reality of it. They need that guy. They need a little extra offense. They do. And if he's not going to play, then that's going to be problematic for them. And then if you pair that with Evan Mobley may not play, then all of a sudden this defense that revolves around Evan Mobley being available becomes not as good. So 9 points tonight is insane. Potentially no DeAndre Hunter, potentially no Evan Mobley, potentially no Darius Garland, and Donovan Mitchell is going to play hurt. Meanwhile, the Pacers, pretty healthy, given the fact that they're about to play their 89th basketball game of the year. So I'm very intrigued to kind of see how tonight's game goes. The Pacers are going to have an excellent opportunity to go up 2-0 in this series, coming back for game 3 here in Indianapolis. And I hope that they're able to take advantage of that. I hope that they're able to go up 2-0 tonight and come back and go up 3-0 in this series. Because obviously, you get up 3-0, no one's ever come back from that. And if there's a team who can, it's this Cavaliers team, given how great they are on the offensive end of the floor. But this is a big game tonight because the Pacers, they're going to get a great punch thrown from Cleveland no matter who's available. And the Pacers struggled with Cleveland, towards the end of the year, game 80, when the Pacers were still trying to lock everything up, and the Cavaliers had already locked up the 1 seed, and they didn't play Garland, they didn't play Mobley, they didn't play Donovan Mitchell. The Pacers played their normal starters, and the Pacers struggled with them because this Cavaliers team is very deep, and they have a lot of really good players. And we'll see how tonight's game goes. I'm not convinced that the Pacers are going to win, but I am convinced that if they lose, it's going to be by no more than 9. So Pacers +9 tonight. seems like a very easy play. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to tune into the Real Jonathan Smith Show. I'll be back again tomorrow from 10 to noon. The Dan Dockett Show runs from noon to 3. You can hear me on that. And if you want even more from me, you can go check out the My Take Is YouTube page where you can subscribe to hear more from me. Thank you again for listening. I'll talk to you tomorrow at 10 a.m., probably opening with whatever happened with the Indiana Pacers tonight.